There is one creature that is shunned by society, one that fears the sun and thrives in the night, one who is weak to fires, yet strength eclipses the strongest of warriors, and they are literally thirsty for blood. I am talking about the vampires. They get stronger the longer you go without feeding, but their side effects do get a little out of hand for the worse the longer the hunger strike goes. So what happens if you decide to go on an eternal fast for the worse? That's what I aim to find out, as today I shall attempt to beat Oblivion Remastered as a blood-starved vampire. The biggest thing to know about being a vampire in Oblivion, there are 4 stages of vampirism. At first, things aren't too bad and you can walk outside in the sunshine, but at the 4th stage of suckiness, you take about 16 damage per second outside during the afternoon, and people will not talk to you out of fear of being turned into a Happy Meal and a 50% weakness to fire, but at least you get a plus 20 to a few attributes and skill bonuses, and resist 20% of normal weapons. I hope the trade-offs are worth it. For this run, I have one rule. I am not allowed to feed on anyone. If I have to slurp from anyone's neck to progress, then the run is failed. Also for vampirism, I did put it to a poll, and you were all nice enough for me to not have to immediately start at stage 4. With all that out of the way, how much will this run suck, or will I find a way to overcome the weakness of flesh and become a tyrant of destruction? Let's find out. Starting up with the greatest character creator ever created, you might be wondering, Orph, why the hell are you not going for the dumber? They offset the fire weakness. My dear viewer, I am fully aware, and it is all a part of my master plan. The reason I went with the Imperial is for their bonus to the cult of personality. Getting around my antisocial tendencies will be my #1 priority. Though given my face, I don't know if anyone is willing to talk to me. Before I can start my pillage to anorexia, first I must spring out of my jail. Something about sucking from the wrong body part of the wrong individual, and while being braided by the most elitist Dark Elf that I might do something with later on, I got some quick sneak experience just because, and playing around with a jug that phases in and out of existence, and reminding Patrick Stewart of his sleep paralysis demons. Since I haven't gotten down with the sickness yet, I can't do anything but watch on as a bystander until I can play around with the rodents. Yeah, hold on rats. Let me play around with this lock for about 20 minutes as I get good at lockpicking. Yep, I will be using a lot of exploits this run. The rest of the solo section wasn't that interesting. Well, besides getting turned around at one point, since it has been a few months since I got distracted with Fallout 4 and Morrowind, but I am reunited with the red shirts, fighting the red cloaks, and I can begin picking my birth sign. Lord, though he very much would not like the direction I will take my life. The Apprentice would have been another good option, but I will take the added defense. Don't worry, the troll skin from the original Oblivion will make an appearance soon enough. I become an effective babysitter by giving the children only the most caffeinated energy drinks that somehow is still on the market, and I try to go for a quick sip of royal blood, only for it to get all over my rags. Once the assassin gets his ass beat inward, I can pick my skills. Not really sure what I was going for, since I end up abandoning light armor and blade halfway through the run, but oh well. In fact, I could have done a hand-to-hand build, but the main skills to focus on will be illusion, restoration, and destruction. These will be essential for my game plan going forward. Boris gives me my keys to freedom, and as soon as I step outside, I hiss at the sunshine and go back to my raw sewage the gamer basement dweller bathwater until night fell. There are several ways to contract the world's suckiest disease. The easiest way is to get beat off by some vampires in a cavern, and a little bit south of the sewers is a memorial cave. This cave is etched in my memory from its role in one of the best quests in the game, since you do have to clear it out. But from the first vampire, I immediately contract porphyric hemophilia, which works for me, and now I am on the clock. In 3 days, I shall be shunned by the sun. I do need to do some quick shopping, but I feel in the spirit of the challenge, I shall become a full-fledged vampire first. I need to first take a long nap to let the disease take hold. Hold on. Bastard woke me up from my beauty sleep. Anyways, the Mage's Tower will be my crucible, simply because I want to craft some important spells so I don't get soft-locked. I finished waiting out my 3-day timer, and I decided to pay a quick visit to the Imperial City to get the ball rolling. Also, I forgot how to become a vampire. I barely suck at this game. I am going to need a few things first before I become a fine sauté, and to get the ball rolling, I decided to create infinity out of nothingness, causing every mathematician to spiral out of control just for funding. And to really get into the spirit of the challenge, I decided to take on one final nap, remembering the final step to becoming a vampire. And after a wet dream from my own sweat, I am now a full-fledged vampire. Things are going to suck. Fast. Stepping outside, the sun doesn't mind my existence right now, but in a few days' time, it will decide to cook me ranging from an omelet to a full-blown barbecue. There are a few things I will need ASAP. The first thing is some candlesticks for a sensual evening by myself, and a few spells like Fortify Attribute and Skill, along with the Calm spell. The Calm spell took me forever to find, and I end up traveling to several Mages Guild just trying to find one. And while I was waiting in Bruma, I got the notification that my hydration strike is catching up to me, but at least I can buy my charm spell, and upon stepping outside, the sun begins to fry me. Just in time too. Just if I need to travel anywhere, I'll need to wait until the moon moons me. With my shopping done, now comes some spell crafting to at least help me for the time being. The first and most important spell is Charm, so I can commune with Milady without her sending the National Guard after me. I also craft some Fortify Attribute spells just to help me if needed, though it doesn't really end up working out. And lastly, a heal spell to help offset my skin boiling in the sunshine. Ready as I can be, I talk to Joffrey Bird to get the ball rolling on the main story, and that of course is traveling to Kvatch. As soon as I arrived, my skin started to boil, but it is still morning so it isn't a full-blown sunburn yet. I got my orders from the captain, then dove right into the Hellgate. Since I am a nice guy, please ignore my Skyrim resume, I helped the lone soldier and told him to run for his life. I am not in the mood for a quick snack. The scamps aren't hitting me that hard, even with their fireballs on my highly combustible skin, and I did wander around the towers trying to find a pathway in. If anyone knows where the door to the prison tower is, do let me know. The interior of the keep was a little more threatening, mostly my gear being pretty shoddy, and it doesn't take long for me to be reduced to my undies. Yeah, with the Lord Birth sign. Honestly, I don't like wearing armor in Oblivion anymore. The keeper of all things kinky wasn't too bad, but I think they were exhausted from their bonding time. While waiting to heal off my wounds, my flammability progressed to phase 3, so sunshine will burn me more, and the scant's fireballs will continue to fry me even more. The final room I do end up taking quite a beating, nearly died towards the end, but through perseverance, or more stubbornness and stupidity, I can come out on top, and I save scum the orb for some Fortify Magicka. I have a plan, and that plan is to spite the sun. Now comes clearing out the city, and I felt appropriate to help out. I am but a nice Pepito after all. Yep, 100% kind and honorable. I brought along the priest and led him to a holy place, that being a battlefield where demons and soldiers are getting new holes prodded through them. You see? A nice Pepito. The soldiers are asking if I'm okay. Judging by how my forehead is clipping through my hood, probably not. Let's just chalk it up to my day job. Once the second courtyard is cleared, I follow the second Kvatch captain through the Undercroft. Hopefully no Belmont is trying to purge me from existence. One guard though was really fantasizing about doing me in. Don't blame him. With Belric's escort portion done, I lowered the gate and let the soldiers have first dibs on all the scampulous bodies strewn about. Yeah, with my crappy skills, I am but an NPC in this quest, just here for the ride. The castle had some upgraded scamps, but nothing too strenuous. The Count bought into the hot singles lady in your area scam, and the ad was a little too on the nose. With the castle saved, I led Martin from one bloody massacre to another. I really need to find better vacation spots. Probably should cancel my Cairo vacation. From both Cairos. The chapel was pretty easy to clean out, and the amulet was taken. Joffrey, you had one job, and you failed it. Now comes the journey to Cloud Ruler Temple, which we do in the cover of night. No, not to hide from the mythic dawn agents, but so I don't spontaneously combust from the sight of looking at myself in a mirror. Before returning to Diamond City, I decided now shall be the moment I break the game. And all I need to do is to blue my balls. And as soon as I started my long training montage, my psychic disease progressed to stage 4. Meaning as soon as I step outside, I shall be burnt like my steaks. To assist my training, I gave all my gear Fortify Magicka 10 points, effectively doubling my spell pool so I can continue to assault my body. I will need more spells, preferably a spell that doesn't involve self-harm, and put me on yet another watch list. The only watch list I would like to be on is the watch list of those you subscribe to. Trust me, it helps out a lot, so I can continue to find even suckier ways to harm myself. NPCs are starting to ignore me, preferring someone who isn't featured on a Make-A-Wish Who Should Vanish website, but I can at least charm them long enough to engage in conversation. Also, dear gods, what is happening to my hands? Stepping outside to make my way to the magic shop, I am seared, boiled, and other cooking-related adjectives, so happy I'm healing to stay alive. But at least I can make myself weak to poisoning. The only poisoning I need is my daily consumption of doom scrolling, thank you very much. Except when I try to make a spell, I was a little broke, so I will need to make a quick buck. And no, I am not talking about making love with the dough. Sickos! So if I need to wait for a shop to open, I will need to wait somewhere out of the sun. So, what happens if I wait out in the open market?
You should really get to a healer.
So for me to sell at my favorite shop, I have to wait at an inn until the store opens, run to a store, rest to heal, then eventually make it to my destination. And I will need to do the song and dance again on the way back, so... With everything in place, time to break the game. Well, it is an Elder Scrolls title. If the game balance isn't going to be broken in a million pieces, then it isn't an Elder Scrolls game. So, in my tower, I shut myself in, a mortal enemy of the daytime, wishing to finally break my curse and embrace the warm sun, not as a creature of the night, but a denizen of the day, wishing to break free of the segregation of the Nightwalkers. I repeatedly cast healing spells on myself, mastering the art of healing my mortal wounds to make myself immortal. After 10 minutes of spell crafting and spell testing, I have finally hit Restoration 100. I craft myself a Fortify Health, 8 points 30 seconds, but it is not enough. 15 points 30 seconds, that is just enough. I walk outside, spell in hand, and in the heat of the midday sun, I walk not in fear of the sunshine, but in solace that I have overcome my weakness, and I can enjoy the daytime pleasantries once again. F you, son! F you! Not suffice with my power scaling just yet, I figure I could go ahead and get Destruction to 100 too. It's not too hard. In fact, it is the same method of getting all other schools of Magicka to 100. Repeatedly cast the most expensive spell until you can get to the next milestone, then lather, rinse, repeat, until I am the Master of Destruction. I say f the sun, and despite it, I craft a localized thermonuclear detonation. I'm done playing nice. Let's let the power get to my head. That, of course, involves traveling to the Imperial City, and yes, I know I'm a freak of nature. Mama always told me real beauty comes from within. Actually, looking within, I am 3 times as ugly. I am here to make sure that Boris doesn't end up getting himself killed. So of course I set Estav on fire, then plunder his reading materials. There is no text aloud version, so I have to read, whatever that is. I talk to the tarmac, calming her down so she doesn't decide to cower in fear, then peruse the local bookstore. Nice to find books created before the Slop Fest took over. I had to politely persuade the bossman to give me his book, or else he'll be neck to my bloodbath. Sure, Boris, let's take our sweet time in the sunshine going as slowly as we can. Can't you see him burning alive? Hurry up! As for the sewers, it is the furthest thing from difficult. The most difficult thing is making sure I don't end up taking my overextended canines and shoving them in my neck for how slow Boris moves down here. And I don't want to hit on him. He is taken for 1, probably by Sithis, and for 2, given my vampirism, he will probably end up trying to chop me into smaller pieces and burning me alive. Much like a Castlevania vampire, I will always come back. I was curious for the meeting what happens if you let Raven do his full speech, and he immediately susses Boris out. I wanted Boris to join the dark side. We have cookies. With me being invisible, everyone was aggro on Boris, and he'll be forever unable to get cookies. Oh well, more for me. I plucked Raven's feathers, roast him on a fire, and grabbed his book. Then comes a point every vampire fears: talking to the statue in the middle of the day. But healing through the pain solves any problem. Most problems. I just need better healing for my problems. Except for when you're missing half of your head. I might need stronger ibuprofen. The jog up to the secret cult den was not too interesting. Well, besides realizing my blade and strength skill at this point of the game really ain't up to snuff, so battle mage it is. And this isn't the final time I do a class change either. I am an angry kleptomaniac, and I want to keep my goodies, so time for a wee bit of spring cleaning. The Mythic Dawn ain't a vigilist Endar, but it is a close second that I do enjoy. And also it makes me look like a good person for once. I did try to calm down Mankar before he dips from this reality to the next, but I chose poorly. Charm isn't calm. I don't use enough illusions, sadly. I rescue the naked lizard before his life essence gets downscaled, and that just means Mythic Dawns becomes Mythic You're Done. Wave dashing won't save you, and at this point, as the slaughter resumes, I am in go mode. And frankly, give it 2 hours, I'll be done with the run. Oblivion runs are the quickest to do when you know what you're doing, but I am not done with the carnage. I am not one of those goody-goody vegan vampires. I am a deranged, starving, psychotic, psychopathic motherfucking vampire. So, I offer the lizard a sacrifice for a chance to join the Dark Brotherhood. I took a quick nap at the end of the dungeon, and I am formally invited to become an assassin. And my first task is to deflower a virgin blade. No, not Boris, I am not a necrophiliac, and who the f wants to date Delphine? Hiking up to the Inn of Ill Omen, the main reason I am doing the Dark Brotherhood is pretty much because that was the one questline I did not do for the frankly overextended Santa video, and I like being an assassin. Don't mind me, Mr. Rufio, I am here to give you a gut check. And with that, I am now part of the Dark Brotherhood, and since I am level 10, I decided to dive into the nearby Oblivion gate for another sigil stone to upgrade my magic further. Just a quick in and out, say I scum the Great Ball of Fire, turn one Great Ball into 8, because otherwise I would just do 8 more Oblivion gates and repeat the save scum process, and do some quick shopping so I don't look like a crazed homeless guy. Just ignore the smell of burnt garbage, the unkept hair, the head poking through the hood, and the twitching of extreme withdrawal symptoms. With me all geared up, I am welcome to my sanctuary for the better half of the Dark Brotherhood. Talk to a fellow denizen of the night, this time with hair. To be honest, I actually preferred Bald Vincent, and I get my first mission, sneaking onto a boat. I hopped onto some crates, plundered some pirate booty, and mutinied the captain. And no one quite shit their pants during death like Gaston. With my job done, I get my next mission for Bruma. Yeah, since this run is dedicated to breaking the game balance wide open, I figure I could play around with the best illusion spell in both Morrowind and Oblivion. And no, it's not casting a massive frenzy spell in the market, though that does give me an idea. I traveled to Brazil and shopped with the progenitor to all things enemy explode, then had to wait until nightfall to travel. Ugh. I really wish I could recall. With some fresh funding from an item duplicated fundraiser, I needed money so I can grind my illusion to 100. Just call this practice for a soon-to-be alternative run. And during my shopping trip, some asshole Mythic Dawn assassin thought he could be a hero, extinguishing the man burning in the daytime in pure agony. Didn't end well for him. 15 minutes later and many dummy chameleon spells later, my illusion is 100, and I crafted a frankly cheap 100 chameleon 30-second spell. If your chameleon is exactly 100 or greater, your game will just break, and enemies will ignore your presence. Honestly, it is better to craft this illusion spell than it is to kit yourself out with chameleon, but that's just me. I gave Phelan some bullhead, didn't go well for him, and I'm back to the sanctuary being told good Pepito for doing the side tasks. Every good Dark Brotherhood assassin completes the bonus objective. The next mission is another banger. Do you remember that Dreth scum who calls you racist things in the tutorial? Yeah, you get to sneak back through the sewers during the tutorial to kill him right before his release. People remember the Dark Brotherhood fondly for a particular reason. Once the sewers transitions to a crypt, I pop my chameleon spell and sneak quickly past the guards. Just don't kill any guards and you're in the clear. I gave Dreth a thought about release, only to make a surgical incision in his neck with a rusty dagger, and I never stitch it back up. Easy mission is easy. Well, given I break the game, I get to tip the scales, and next up, I get to fake a death. Instead of going into some guy's house and stabbing him repeatedly, I just stab him once with a poison knife to get the debt collectors off his back. And no, I cannot kill the debt collectors, as much as my psychopathic tendencies would like me to. After burning outside for a day, I dive into the Church of Stendarr and rescue the Sleeping Beauty. The extended family might not be too happy that the family reunion was cancelled. This is the Church of Stendarr after all, and you know how I feel about that god. With the fugitive in exile and ostracized from his family, I am done with my Bloodkin's quest, and next up comes the Overachievas. Her first objective is to find some alcoholic and kill him in an undisclosed location. Well, sure, you could just tail him all over town and ask for information, or, know whose house he's couch surfs at, and dispose of him that way. The crappy part is that I'm back to sizzling in the daytime, and I forgot where he is at, so I had to search around for a while. I staged an accident as long as you ignore the stab wounds in the back, find another accident in the cellar, and my next mission is to infiltrate a fort.
Get back, you filthy beast!
I know I'm ugly! Anywho's, the location the bandit lord is hiding at is at a fort and such, and rather than going through the main entrance, there is a conveniently placed cellar nearby. The bonus objective for this quest is to do it all undetected to make the death seem natural-ish. As someone who enjoys high death counts, I would love to clear the fort out the old-fashioned way, But nah, gotta do Chameleon the funny way. Some easy sneakies, and completing the hypocritical oath later, the mission is done, and before returning to the Sanctuary for one of the best quests in the entire franchise, I think I should go ahead and knock out a Daedric artifact for later. I figured with how bad I am at the lockpicking minigame, I should probably get the skeleton key, and curious if I can complete the quest ahead of time, I wandered into a dimly lit cave and plundered it for its goodies. Turns out I had the wrong dimly lit cave. Much further off to the south is a Tidewater cave, and in the spot the eye is at, my vision was cloudy and it wasn't there. Well, some quick hiking and frying the balls off a troll later, I arrived at Nocturnal Shrine and began a rather simple quest. Yeah, you can skip talking to the Argonians and just jump back into the tide pool to drown yourself and grab the eye. I like easy and overpowered Daedric artifacts, especially the ones that mitigate what I suck at. My appetite is depraved, I am starved, and I am invited to the greatest party in Tamriel. Whodunit? You need to kill everyone in a locked house. It is supposed to be an escape room, and the only way to escape is by finding the key. Except, the killer has the key. The bonus objective is to kill everyone without being seen, which requires being smart with who you interact with first. Or, you know, Chameleon. Novelli you want to kill first, simply because after a few deaths, he will put on his armor, making assassinating him a lot more difficult. I was nearly caught in the act, if the AI wasn't super daft. Once it was just a very inebriated Nels and some pompous Primo left, I just taunted the two into killing each other. Yay, the killer is dead! Too bad Primo failed social deduction and not to investigate the very sus hooded figure. And Ochiva's final quest is a simple one, assassinating the retired captain of the Legion. But before I can do my assassinating, I have to deal with my assassin, which was doing a number on me, and boiling alive in the heat wasn't helping one bit. With the assassin dead, I can get back to my task at hand, using the Rose of Sithis and lodging it up the butthole of a skinny dipper, and now I can casually jog back to safety. Right, sunshine. Second go around, I'm not refunded a rose, but at least I'm not burned to a crisp. With the finger fingering a lockbox, Ochiva tells me my job is done, and now I can take orders from a LeChance encounter. Sure, you could go through the fort for a dungeon crawl, or, you know, crawl through the exit tunnel and get right to LeChance. There is a traitor in the Dark Brotherhood, and I am given the pleasure to do some spring cleaning at the sanctuary. Aw, it shouldn't have. Well, cue the montage.
Night, Mother. I beg you.
Why, brother?
Why, brother? Why, brother?
And rats always
I love using that song for my slaughterings. Anyways, with the sanctuary cleaned out and the belongings mined for the garage selling so vultures can raid the sales and selling everything of value online for a steep markup, I had to travel in the fresh sunshine for the last target. Pretty easy to see me a mile away, and now I have a permanent red filter on my screen, at least for the remainder of this recording session, and my days of doing fun assassinations is done. And frankly, the second half of the questline, I honestly do not like at all. It is exclusively go to dead drop, kill the target, go to another dead drop, and the first target of course just has to be in the most asinine location this side of Black Marsh. And since I was in the area, I did take out the Draconis target at the end for later. One long jog of running through the timber as a walking smoke alarm tester later, I'm at Leaf Rot Cavern, turning the bones into bone meal. That I cannot eat per rules of the challenge, and the hunger is driving me mad. I can turn the wannabe lich into a wannabe bitch, and the next quest is the Purge of the Dragon Bloodline. But before I can end the bloodline, I should probably go refill my Varla and Welkinstone supply, and annihilating two birds one thermonuclear warhead later, I decided to get Miss Karkin done. The dungeon was pretty quick, a lot quicker when I can blend in with the environment and stab all the skeletons from behind. I don't think this was the boning they were pining for. With a fresh supply of Welkin and Varla stones, some of which were copied for reasons only known to me, I can obtain the world's largest butt plug, and the king is ready to get down and dirty. What a f***ing prick. Well, I gave the king his what for, and now I can get back to familial extermination, and of course meeting more 5th degree sunburns on Venus. Technically for this quest, you are supposed to talk to the mother, who tells you the location of every Draconis member, but I am curious what happens if I kill everyone before the mother. The second target is in the Talos district, and I just casually killed off the Draconis and his boyfriend. Now they can bunk together in the void. My next target is the target that gives me the most trouble, Saelia. This target sucks because when you kill her, you get a 1,000 gold bounty, even if you are completely invisible in a side room. And given my anorexia, I am afraid the guards were just going to kill me and not bother with the justice systems. I tried waiting for a better time to kill Ciela. Right, the sunshine. I tried waiting for a better time, not in the daytime, giving her a poisoned apple, poisoning my sword, and frenzying everyone in town, but sadly, nothing was working. I ended up spending half an hour labbing out how I could get past this hurdle, and I just decided to kill Ciela and turn myself in, and the guards just make me pay the 1,000 gold bounty. Thank goodness I was not given the impaler treatment. I lose my head on a daily basis at work. And the final target is a furry enthusiast that I think might be into bestiality. I enjoy a little irony, and what better way to send her off than to have her lovers turn on her. When Sibyl's kinks getting the best of her, all the children are accounted for, and when I talk to the mother at Apple Watch, she acts like I haven't encountered any of her kids. Sure, let me give this Christmas list to Santa. No, not the whimsical rhyming Santa. The Santa that believes in vigilante justice and beating sinners to a pulp. And, oopsies, you just joined the Sinner's Row. And with that, we are now in the endgame of the Dark Brotherhood, which we are now going to secluded locations and killing random NPCs. The first is the sleeping Khajiit in his anime training montage room. Pretty simple to do, and now I have a Battle Beast cape. One super quick jog to a very cozy bridge later, flaming clothing notwithstanding, the next target is in the middle of a flooded cavern. Thank goodness I'm not one of those hydrophobic vampires, or neckbeards, or else the Argonian would have gotten to live another day. These dead drop locations are starting to get very obnoxious. Really? Middle of a fort, in the middle of f***ing nowhere? And at an extremely cheap end too? Ugh. I swear, I just want to smack whoever's sending me to these locations. The next target is a traveling NPC that varies depending on the time of the week. Really nice that his scheduled execution falls in the exact same time I do a pub crawl. One quick stabby later, and the victim is on the ground. Then I decided to clear out the entire bar. You know, I used to be a nice lad who saved Kvatch, but when an animal is starved for extended periods of time, morals are thrown out, and the basic instinct of survival no matter what kicks in. Except thanks to my mouth, I can't even scrape and lick. The penultimate target is located at the top of Knoll Mountain. Hey, look, it's my favorite sleeping spot. That's my sleeping spot! Give it back! And the final dead drop is located in some random ass ruins, and located conveniently in my way is Arkved's tower. And I was actually curious. I entered the exit of the dungeon, and I could just grab Vermina's orb. I traveled to her shrine, and after a brief quest update, I can actually finish the quest. And I didn't need a black soul gem too. I actually wonder if you can do this quest at level 1, skipping needing to date Umbra. That's for a later run to test further. Now, I am back running through the woods burning up, and not like a glittering twink. I arrived at a totally normal ruins, and while sure the dead drop is right by the entrance, I was actually curious what was going on with the ruins. Just a bunch of marauders and Welkin stones, along with a few Varlas too. Works for me. I did end up getting lost at one point, and struggled trying to find the way to the upper platform, but that's what you get when most alien dungeons look the same. And there is no grand reward at the end. Not even a Radiant quest. Thanks, Oblivion. The final target is in the middle of Brazil, and a few backstabbies later, Lucian appears out of nowhere, and turns out, I f***ed up big time. The last few assassination targets were actually members of the Dark Brotherhood, and the dead drops were suspiciously swapped with fake orders. Oopsies. Well, it is now up to me to solve who is the real traitor. I just waited for my dead drop to arrive on time, of course impatiently as I continued to sizzle in the sunshine. Hey, you little f***! You didn't pay me! Get back here and pay me! Great, now the guards are after me. I sorta wanted to, so I guess time to do some stabby. With the lighthouse key in hand, and nobody to relight the lighthouse, I traveled to the basement to find the head of a mummy. With evidence in hand, I found out I was too late, and they already started to fillet la chance, and they didn't even let me get the first carving. Hey Matthew, here's your mummy. And of course, I started to play with the jiggle physics. Well, at least they didn't strip him naked like in the original. And welcome to the sole reason the original Oblivion was rated M after the accidental rack was left in the code. And of course, all the blood was drained. We traveled to the tomb of the Night Mother, where the real traitor revealed himself. Never trust a f***ing Belmont. Well, I partake in Dracula's wet dream, and off the Belmont bloodline forever. With the Dark Brotherhood in shambles since everyone competent is now dead, I am now the de facto leader by default, and the Blade of Woe is upgraded, and the Dark Brotherhood questline is done. Just, I have to clear my bounty before I run into some troubles with the blades later. Well, I guess it's time to get the main story back on track and all wrapped up, and with half of the second half already taken care of, things are going to be very quick. I interrupted Joffrey from nap time and not suck him off, and I just break into the spy's basement to both steal the plans and off them in their sleep. As a master assassin, Joffrey chose the best person for the job, even though I'm the only person for the job, and I do have a bad habit of killing my superiors. I hand him both my spy plans and my goat skull, and now comes babysitting some guards through an Oblivion gate. With the guards actually leveled to a decent level, and I can turn invisible at a moment's notice to clear away any hostilities, the crawl was a joke. Well, of course if you use every exploit in the book that isn't spell stacking, everything will be easy. But that is the fun of playing RPGs. You use your brain, Reddit, and curiosity, discover the depths of the game's systems, and push it to its fullest, and you will be rewarded. I just don't like playing hard video games or hard difficulties. I just like making games harder than it needs to be, and finding ways to overcome it. Before long, I finish the easy climb up the tower, grab the dragon's ball sack, and next up comes grabbing Tiber Septon's tainted body armor. The dungeon dive through Tora's sick fantasies was pretty meh. I was invisible most of the time, so I could just ignore the ghosts. I just booked it to the very starving targets, let them lay themselves flat, then move on to my next target. For the final blade, I thought to fight them fair. I think I cut things a little too close for comfort. Well, with some quick healing, the blades are kneeling for the barriers to go down, and I can grab the armor for Mr. Fanservice to wear for the final battle. Before beginning hell, I should have done the smart thing and turned the daytime into nighttime, just so I don't have to worry about sizzling myself in the sunshine. I talked to my backup and let the crowd cheer on the vampire who has beat the sunshine. Or they're cheering on the vampire stupid enough to burn themselves in the sunshine since SPF 20 million hasn't been invented yet. With evening falling, the big battle can begin. I think all the soldiers are confused that the data are just dropping dead. I am just doing the classic stabby to make sure Martin doesn't send me back to the last load screen. The battle wasn't too bad. The soldiers were mostly competent, and the Daedric numbers were being thinned out. A few minutes of acupunctures later, and the big gate can be opened. I didn't feel like getting intimate with any more Daedric dates. My last one I am still reeling from, so I turned invisible and booked it through. Thanks to being invisible, plus having good acrobatics and athletics, I could just ignore everything and grab my danger orb, cutting off the big doom machine, and the battle was extremely bloody, and sadly, there were no survivors. I said, there were no survivors. That is so much better. With everything chaotic done for the run, I figure I should just sprint through paradise. You know, I think Mankar has some progressive thinking. In his reborn Tamriel vision, the sun doesn't burn vampires. I think I know who the real MVP is, and suddenly Harkon is extremely jealous. I didn't feel like fighting anything here, just so I can conserve my Varla stones, so I just snuck through and finally used my spark spells I abandoned for cheese. And I nearly seared myself, or at least seared my pants. My skin is very tender. And not done with being chaotic, I just started to push NPCs into lava. Hey, that looks like fun. Okay, I can't beat melting my bones off in magma, but someday I shall beat the core. The rest of Paradise was brief, so brief the enemies couldn't even look at my undies, and they were dropping like flies, but I mean, of course flies would drop if they flew right into the nuclear reactor. So for Mankar, I had to do the fight twice, all because I forgot what Reflect Magicka actually does. I thought it reflected spells, not reflected my enchantments from my blade back onto me. You know, damaging my health by 15 points, and damaging my willpower so I start to fall over frequently, and destroying my Magicka in the meantime, and replenishing Mankar's. I really need to read my weapon enchantments before fighting a Reflect Happy enemy. I realized I screwed myself, most because I wouldn't have a way to restore my willpower, so I had to reload. Second go around, I do the smart thing, and use a blade that doesn't screw me over when reflected. Just some random chilly ice blade. Why the hell didn't I just do this in the first place, instead of charging Mankar like a battery? Well, I can't sit on the throne because I can't be paralyzed, and I can hand in the necklace of plat relevance, wait until night so I can travel without getting fried, and I was arrested for one of my murders. Honestly forgot which murder it was. It is kinda hard to keep track right now. Well, the last traces of the cult of personality could be wiped out, and we are steamrolling the endgame. You know, sit through the world's quickest coronation ceremony for the shortest lived emperor, after fighting off the enemies in the palace I just ignored everything, escort the Martian to the temple, where Daddy Dagoth can have a belt be turned on him, and I have successfully beat Oblivion Remastered as an extremely starved vampire. Honestly, that was far from as difficult as I was anticipating. This run was inspired by a run by Juggy, and there were a lot of moments I was trying to avoid, mostly with NPCs running away. And honestly, I think I overcame my shortcomings just fine. In fact, vampirism really isn't that bad, so long as you work around the NPCs not wanting to be turned into a 3-course meal. Hey, in an alternate reality, donating blood can be considered noble. Assholes. Really, the worst part of being a vampire is the whole becoming a walking example of skin cancer, but with some restoration cheese, even that can be overcome. The stat boosts are very enticing too, just that the only downside about stat boosts, at least in the remaster, is that outside of athletics, it is super easy to grind your stats to 100, and adding to my notes, I really should do a video on how to speedrun getting every skill to 100, if my last speedrun was anything to go by. At least I had fun playing Oblivion on the more evil side of things. As for what's to come next, after all the challenges of Skyrim feeling too easy lately, I should make up a run that is absolute misery. Stay tuned to that. And before I retire to my coffin for the day, I just want to give a special shout out to all my channel members and patrons whose blood keeps the vampire satiated and saves Tamriel from a rampage. Links to them along with my socials and Discord in the description. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to drop a like, subscribe for more masochism and any other ways to torture myself, leave them down below. This has been Orpheolus, and I'll see you on the next one.